Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to go over something with y'all, especially those of you who may be in the market for a new truck. So when I was looking at trucks for a daily driver, ended up with the 6.0 here. There's a lot of things to consider. I went back and forth myself with, what do you get? So I'm gonna hop in this thing, roll the windows down, and we'll get right into it. Alrighty, guys. So as most of y'all know, this is my 2006 F-250 with the 6-liter, and if it matters, it is a Lariat. That over there is my 97 F-150 XLT, currently sitting on a 12-inch lift, some 20-inch platinum wheels, and some 35s. That truck, my first truck, I love that truck. Been through a lot. Got that truck completely stock from my grandpa, 6 years ago? Almost 7. So and that truck has been in the family. My grandpa bought that truck 3 years old in 2000, the year I was born. So it's been in the family for as long as I would know. And again, I absolutely love that truck. Nothing against that truck, just something that's that size. I used to daily drive that truck. I did it for years on a 7.5-inch lift, and then went up to kind of a 9, if you will, with a leveling kit on top of the 7.5. And then this year we installed a 3-inch body lift on the truck, if you're wondering how we got to 12 inches. But anyway, with daily driving that truck, honestly, it was fine. Just, me hanging out, whatever, as a high school kid, was fine. If you don't know, those trucks are 3-door with this truck has a 6.5-foot bed. This truck, and that's also 2-door, but this truck is a crew cab, 4-door. That's the 3-door extended cab. Basically meaning there's no door back here. But that truck, like I said, it was fine. As long as you had, 2 people, maybe 3, it was alright that way. As far as hauling stuff in the bed, it was fine. A little more difficult because it's a lifted truck. And I'm about eye level with the top of the tailgate, and I'm 6'3". Kind of give you a bit of a representation there. It was a bit much as far as a daily driver. The truck, it's a 97. It's not getting any younger. So, it has its little quirks and oddities about it and things of that nature. So, I got in the market looking for a new daily driver. I had bought a Jeep, which is over here. Actually, let's fire this thing up and we'll go look at the Jeep. Forget I have that thing sometimes, but let's just run over here and look at the Jeep real quick. Alright, so there is my Jeep. Most of you probably don't remember that Jeep, to be completely honest. I think I had around 150 subscribers maybe when I bought that thing. That Jeep, the reason it is sitting here is because it doesn't run. I bought it, it didn't have a motor in it. The guy had a motor for it. We put the motor in it, it doesn't run. But amongst putting the motor in it, lifting it, wheels and tires, a bunch of other stuff, I've made a ton of stuff. I spent a bunch of money on this thing, and come to realize I don't fit in it. So getting in, head hits the roof, knees against the dash, and it's just, it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't made for me. So we went and did a bunch of work with moving the seat and putting a quick disconnect steering wheel on it, make it easier getting in, and a bunch of other stuff, and it's just didn't work out. I figured for driving that every day probably wasn't sufficient. And I mean, with moving the seat back, sitting back here, I would be looking kind of out the back window for everything. So figured probably wasn't the best idea, probably wasn't the safest option. So there it sits. I would like to figure out something to do with that thing. Have a couple ideas in mind. I just don't have the space to do it, or the equipment for that matter. So there it is. I thought about selling it, but I really don't want to sell it because I have way too much money in the thing. So I don't rightfully know what to do with it. But I bought that to be my daily driver, and then, you know, take it out and off-road it, have fun with the thing, whatever. So that didn't work. So a couple months later, I believe yeah, something like that, I got in the market for a new truck. So there's a bunch of options. I mean, there's tons of options out there. Gas trucks, diesel trucks. I really wanted a diesel truck. And the reason I wanted one of these, there's a guy lives up the road here that we used to work on their stuff all the time before he built his shop. And, you know, we work on their family stuff and whatever. Pretty good friends with him. He has an 05 King Ranch 6.0. And he brought it over one time. I don't remember what exactly we did to it. But anyway, I drove it back. I got to drive it back to his house, and I fell in love with that truck. And mind you, at this time, I'm 16, maybe 17. But I always thought about that truck. So with looking for a new truck, a daily driver per se, that's kind of what I wanted. You know, again, looked at a bunch of options as far as gas truck, diesel truck, you know, all this other stuff. But there's a few things that I've come to note between the two after owning this truck that I wanted to note here. So I'm going to pull back up here in the shade, that way it quits blowing out the camera. But there's a few things to note again. And I will preface by saying that it all depends on what you want. What are you going to do with it? You know, all of that. You know, are you looking for something to work? Are you looking for something to build? You want something that you can take out and beat the crap out of with like a off-roader or something like that. Again, it all depends on what it is that you are looking for. So I think this will work for being in the shade. But again, it all depends on what it is that you are looking for. You know, I mean, if you're going to be towing a 40-foot gooseneck trailer, well, I would probably say you would want a diesel truck. Whereas, if you want something that you could beat the crap out of every day and have fun with, I would say you would probably want to go with a gasser. And the reason for that being is because we all know that when you beat the crap out of stuff, you run it hard, you know, you put a bunch of power to it that it's not really supposed to have, you're going to break stuff. Whereas on a diesel truck, when you break stuff, one, it's not cheap. And two, it's not an easy fix. On a gas truck nowadays, it's not really an easy fix, but it's easier than, say, one of these. And the reason I say that is, let me show you, if you've never seen under the hood of one of these, let me show you. So on a lot of Fords, seems that most of the time any procedure is cab off, and the reason for that is if we come under here, you can see that everything, yes, I know I need an air filter, but everything is crammed up under here, up under the cab. I mean, if we look here, that is the front of the head, and it goes back up under the cab. The turbo is under the cowl here. Nothing is easy to work on this truck unless you're changing the oil filter, or in this truck's case, the air filter, because someone took the front chunk off for some reason. But as you can see under here, real estate is at a premium. Now, I mean, there's certain things that you can do, certain things that you can remove. It's not necessarily legal, but it can free up room. Haven't done any of that in this truck, but you can do that. Say if you're building a race vehicle or something like that. Whereas, say like the white truck up there, I can't really show you because I'm not tall enough to show you all the way up in the engine bay, but I will find a picture and insert right here. So, as you've seen in the white truck there, there's a lot more real estate under the hood for working and adding things and stuff like that. So for the performance standpoint, another thing to consider on a diesel truck is tuning. Newer trucks with the whole EPA thing, they don't want you messing with them and all that stuff. But say if you have an older truck, you tune said truck, you can push it and get another probably 250 horsepower if you really want to push it. But making power on a diesel is much easier. Well, I'll say much easier. It doesn't take near the equipment to make say 700 horsepower in this truck than it would the white truck up there. And I don't even know if those engines would handle 700 horsepower. But on this truck, it would be much easier. And you could probably do so without building the engine. And it would probably be pretty reliable. So, I mean, you kind of got to figure out exactly, again, what you want. But for daily driver standpoint goes, what I use this truck for is a daily driver. I bought this truck with 207,000 miles on it, and you can see here, excuse the dirt all over the cluster, 208,668 miles. So put just over 40,000 miles on the thing in 2.5 years, and it's been great. No complaints. One breakdown, which is an electrical issue, but got that solved, and the truck has been great. Fuel mileage wise, well, we'll go over here, 17.2. That's it's pretty accurate. I know some people don't trust these. I have hand figured it a few times, and 17.2 generally seems to be on the low end of things. I've seen as good as 19, just regular driving, no interstate or nothing like that. So fuel mileage wise, this truck does pretty good, and then towing, it does good as well. So as some of you know, I bought a wrecked Chrysler 300. It's not out here. It's currently in the shop over there. But we bought that car about 3.5 hours away. 3.5 hours interstate driving, and then, you know, back. And this truck here, right at a tank and a half of fuel with everything stock. Everything. And then, a couple months later, we did aftermarket exhaust on this thing. Went to the same spot, picked up a F-150, and got a considerably better fuel mileage on the way there and back. So, I mean, with these things, you let them breathe, and it's pretty efficient, to say the least. Whereas in the white truck there, yes, I know, 12-inch lift, 35s, so on and so forth. That truck, if I had to guess, probably gets 10 miles to the gallon on a good day or so. So, I mean, you kind of get the idea there. That truck stock probably got around 14, 15, somewhere in there. You know, than this. But diesel fuel is a little more expensive. Maintenance is a little more expensive on a diesel. But, I mean, again, what are you looking to do? Are you looking... Let me shut this thing off. But, are you looking for something to work with? Or are you looking for something to put miles on? If I were to buy a vehicle that I didn't intend to work with and just straight put miles on, I'd probably get a gas burner. And that leads me to another thing, is we have been looking at possibly getting something like a road trip vehicle to put miles on. So that might happen, it might not, I don't know. But that's what we've been using the blue truck for, which is not here. My grandpa's truck, we've been using it for miles, you know, long trips, stuff like that. And you know, and something like that, again, not working it at all, it's been great. But you put a trailer behind that truck, and it's not the best. So, especially with driving this truck, I've had a couple of people drive this truck, and everybody is amazed with how well it pulls, the power of this truck. And again, it's nothing spectacular. It's not a 700 horse truck. It's not nothing special. I mean, it's a stock 6.0 with an exhaust. And, I mean, again, it does great. Haven't had any issues. This truck, being four-wheel drive, here's another thing, is if you're looking at gas versus diesel, unless you're in a Chevrolet or something like that, with a Duramax versus a half-ton truck, Fords and Dodges have solid axles on the front, a little bit more beefy, a little more reliable than the CV axles and stuff like that. So, I mean, in a standpoint of that, that might be something else to consider. But anyway, drivability wise, this truck drives great. We're having some issues with the front end because the front end is off center a little bit. So, you know, it drives a little worse than it did when I first bought it and before I leveled it. But we're gonna get that fixed here pretty soon. But anyway, drivability, this truck is super smooth, drives really nice. It's a little more floaty than, say, a half-ton truck with struts or whatever. This truck's a little more floaty, a little smoother, a little nicer. That's another thing that, like my grandpa says all the time with this truck. He said it all the time, I just can't get over how smooth it is. And, I mean, that's very true. This truck is super smooth. It's a lot smoother than his blue truck is. But, I mean, this is it's a 8,000 pound truck that's 22 feet long. So in an instance, you know, this truck would be smoother than that Hyundai right there because of the mass of this truck. But I mean, again, what are you going to do with the thing? Anymore, with the aftermarket support of different vehicles and whatnot, the sky is the limit. You can take this truck, make it a drag truck. You can take this truck, make it a workhorse. I mean, you can do just about whatever you want to do. But for a package that you go pick up at a dealership, drive it home, and just drive it, this truck has been pretty hard to beat. And I've been nothing but impressed with the capabilities of this truck. You know, I heard horror stories from a bunch of different people. For one, you know, being a 6.0, and two, you know, just being a young kid or adult or whatever, being 20, 21, 19, whatever. Oh, you can't afford maintenance. You're not going to be able to afford to keep fuel in it. They're hard to work on. They're, you know, this, that, and the other. And yeah, fuel's a little more expensive. For this truck, being a short bed, has a smaller fuel tank, it's about $60 to fill it up, which is not too terrible. In the white truck there, it's about $40 to fill up. But in that truck, you get about 100 to 150 miles on a tank of fuel. And this one, we get about 400, 4 to 5, depending on where you're driving. So, I mean, money-wise, it's not that big a deal. It's not that much of a difference between this and that. So, I mean, in that instance, it's not, for me, it's not that big a deal. Maintenance-wise, maintenance is a little more in this truck. But when you have something that you consider like that truck, where everything is aftermarket, everything's upgraded for the most part, maintenance on that thing is not only a little more expensive than a regular vehicle, it's a little more difficult at the same time, because in some instances you have to track down these special parts. So, from, again, my standpoint, this truck has saved me a good bit of money in fuel and expense of just different stuff. Like, for instance, wheel bearings. We put wheel bearings in this truck about every oil change, to be honest, to keep them happy, because I've blown up 2 sets of wheel bearings in that thing, and when it does, it chews up spindles, and it's just not a good thing. And then if you don't know, Fabtech discontinued the lifts for those, so if we blow up a spindle, and you know, what we did was we took the factory spindles, machined a spacer to get it perfect, and then put it together. But to buy a set of Fabtech lift spindles, I think they were like $900 plus shipping from California to Arkansas for a spindle that's, you know, close to 2 feet tall and probably weighs 20 to 30 pounds. Not the cheapest thing to do. So again, I can't speak for your situation, but for my situation, this truck has been the best idea, the best decision for me at this point in time. Now, I haven't had any other vehicles to daily drive. I daily drove the blue truck for a little while. I daily drove this truck for 3 years. Yeah, 3 years, 3.5 years. And then now I've daily drove this thing for 2.5 years. And, you know, I was saying one day, me and my grandpa were talking about this truck versus the white truck. And it's like I told him, I said, if I wish I would have known about the, I guess, the power of the Super Duties, the reliability, and everything else. Because everything on the white truck has been pretty difficult to find parts wise. Not exactly the easiest things on those 10th gens to build. So this truck, it's been much easier. And again, I absolutely love this truck. That's why, honestly, that truck sits over there most of the time and it doesn't get drove a whole lot. I've been trying to drive it more now that it's all back together, but it's just nice to have the peace of mind to hop in a truck like this that, you know, if I go somewhere, I'm going to make it back under its own power and not on a tow truck because something stupid happened or whatever. And that just goes for older vehicles in general. But anyway, I mean, at the kind of the end of the day, it's all, everything is, what do you intend to do? This is not a race car, obviously. Like I said, it's an 8,000-pound truck. It's 22 feet long, and I don't know how wide the thing is. This truck's a lot wider than the white truck. I know that just about for a fact, because sitting in that truck, I can reach over and open the door, whereas in this truck, I can reach over to about the middle of the seat. So, interior room in this truck is a lot more room than the white truck. Now, I will say, on my grandpa's blue truck, it's an 09 F-150 crew cab. It does have a lot more room as far as leg room back here goes. I mean, you can see in this truck, not a whole lot of room. And then with my seat here, it's not a whole lot of room at all. So I guess that's another thing to consider. But again, for myself, this thing has been perfect. It's done everything I've asked it to do with, I mean, really no issues. So I guess with that being said, if you're going to build something, you know, if you're going to build something like that, I would no doubt get a diesel truck or 3/4 ton, 1 ton truck, whatever. A lot more aftermarket support with these. You can do a lot more with solid axles, off-road, you know, show truck, whatever you want to do. A lot more reliable, a lot more power, easier to make power. It's just, in my opinion, a diesel truck is the way to go. So, I mean, you grow up watching stuff like Diesel Brothers, Diesel Power, and all that stuff. And now owning one, you kind of see what is the big deal about diesel trucks. And for me, again, this thing has been perfect. So, like I said, we've been looking at getting like a SUV possibly for road trips. So I will keep y'all updated on that. If we do get one, we might do a kind of comparison between a stock SUV and this truck, because again, the only thing that's done to this truck, you know, performance and handling wise, it's got a 2.5-inch leveling kit, 2015, I think, Lariat stock wheels, 18-inch stocks, and exhaust. And I think that's it. And it's got airbags in the back. But, I mean, other than that, it's pretty well all stock. And, I mean, again, I don't know how many times I can say it. This thing has been perfect to me. The white truck has been great. I'm not trying to just bash the white truck. The white truck's been great. I love the thing. But as far as power, performance, liability, usability, this is where it's at for me. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to quit rambling on here. I just thought I would kind of make this video with some things that you might want to look for. You know, if you're looking into buying a new truck, some things to think about, so on and so forth. But, guys, with that being said, that is going to be a wrap for today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video or found it helpful, please drop a like and comment down below. Let me know, what do you think? Gas versus diesel. What is your pick and why? Let me know. I'd like to see that. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope everybody has a great day.